Ahoy! That is hello in Czech, especially to our brothers and sisters just north of us and west that have given us such wonderful things as sausage and kolaches and klobasnikis. All wonderful. Today's Top 5, brought to you by Texas Beef House, is Top 5 Historic Moments Retconned by Realignment. Now, if you're not a movie or comic book person, you may not know the term retconned. What it means is that they take an origin story or something and they repurpose it and point it to a different direction. Maybe a villain is different or has a different upbringing, or they change the gender. You've probably seen that online. They retcon things, and that's how retconning happens. Now that realignment has happened, I've seen all over social media how the conferences are adopting these moments that did not have them into their own history. Like, who can forget this wonderful ACC moment? Cal versus Stanford at number 5. Great things that happened along the Atlantic coast in the Atlantic Coast Conference. This is now going to be on the ACC network because of realignment, that the band was out on the field, and all Clemson and Georgia Tech and UNC fans thought about this and how significant it was to their conference when this thing happened, because now it's an ACC classic. And you'll see this probably replayed many times on the ACC network. In spite of the fact that it did not happen in the Pac-12, it didn't even happen in the Pac-10. It happened in the Pac-8. As a matter of fact, there are only 8 schools in the Pac when this classic moment happened. Oh, and who can forget also just the hits of Barry Switzer, SEC coaching legend. I saw Barry yesterday celebrating the Oklahoma's interest into the SEC. And then, I saw some SEC, type, media things being like, oh, what a great history to include in the SEC. Well, you can't really include it in the SEC because it didn't happen there. But Barry Switzer won a bunch of titles. Not in the Big 12, in the Big 8, mind you. So we're even leapfrogging conference histories and adding them in. Also, one of my personal favorites, 2004 USC, the greatest Big 10 team of all time. Garrett, you remember this. You were alive in 2004.
I was, man.
And what Big 10 memories we had from there. Oh, all the Indiana and Purdue and Wisconsin fans were upset about the buzzsaw that was USC. There's Reggie Bush, now a Big 10 legend. Maybe the Big 10 actually will let Reggie Bush, free. I know he's kind of been let free, but, forget about the past a little bit more. Number 2. The greatest basketball coach that ever lived, John Wooden, also now a Big 10 basketball legend. Here are pictures of him with, Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He's Lou Alcindor in this picture. He's Kareem in this one. And I didn't move it down because I thought it was just too funny to have Kareem's head cut off in there, just to show you how much taller he is than John Wooden, who by most would be considered kind of a tall guy. But John Wooden, the greatest coach, maybe the greatest coach in the history of coaches, John Wooden. Now, all that's in the Big 10. And, he beat a lot of Big 10 teams, I'm sure, on the way.
Big 10 boy, Purdue.
Oh, he went to Purdue. So, yes, he was already a Big 10 legend. I'm sorry, Jack. I'm sorry. So now, all that, it comes full circle. And, of course, what list would be complete without Vince Young, 4th and 5, legendary SEC moment. Look at that. All the SEC people in the stands loving that for the SEC. Wow, what a moment. It's right up there with other SEC hits like Tim Tebow or Alabama. Bear Bryant, right there. There we go. So I know that this is where things have to be housed. I just don't like that we're kind of homogenizing our college football history and not realizing the great things that were before, even though they're falling apart. When we don't learn or remember our history, we're doomed to repeat it, and we're doomed to maybe even make it worse. And by pretending that these things didn't exist or not acknowledging that they existed in the state that they did exist in, it's just sad for college football and for me personally. So when you see these things promoting the new teams, just remember they didn't happen in those leagues. As a matter of fact, outside of Johnny Manziel, every great thing that Texas A&M did happened in the first 2 years of the Big 12 or in the Southwest Conference. Those are things that we just kind of have to deal with, but in this new world. But don't forget about all these legendary moments. I felt like that was a bit of a Time Life, like, record thing, like the hits of the 50s. That's what this is. We're back to wrap it up right after this.